Welcome again to the Justpeace TALANOA BURE at COVID-19, here with Transcend Oceania on building Justpeace Community in changing environment and climate, engaging at the forefront of recovery as we strive together for inclusive, just peace and positive development. Through these changes is important. TALANOA facing each other on the mat is also important. Appreciating our differences, conflicts may be similar. The responses and approaches to peace may differ with different contexts for urban and rural communities, and most of all with people of special needs. This is what Justpeace TALANOA BURE at COVID-19 is about. Join us at this TALANOA from community leaders, their experiences, lessons learned, and TALANOA recommendations from our local communities. Our guests for today's Justpeace TALANOA are from community leaders representatives, and we welcome Mr. Gordon Mcgoon, Fiji Disabled Peoples Association from the Nadi branch, and Lasarusa Seru, a transgender representative, and Mr. Paulo Baleinakorodawa, the Program Director of Transcend Oceania, who will be moderating this TALANOA for us.
Welcome to Transcend Oceania's Justpeace TALANOA BURE at COVID-19 on building Justpeace communities in changing environment and climate. Thank you for your willingness to be part of this episode. I also like to welcome all of those who are viewing and watching this episode. Maybe if we can begin by you introducing yourselves, who you are, where you come from, what organization or institution you represent in this TALANOA, and what's your role in that organization or institution?
To all the viewers that are viewing in, and I would also like to acknowledge the space that Transcend Oceania had given us an opportunity for an LGBTIQ organization to participate in this space. My name is Lasarusa Seru, and I'm also known as Keera by most of my friends, and I identify as an indigenous transgender woman. And I hail from the beautiful island of Kadavu, and I also share maternal links to Kadavu. I'm here in my capacity as a Transgender Woman Activist.
Thank you. Welcome, Lasarusa.
Hola, I am Gordon Mcgoon. I actually come from the village of Nadi, Levu, Ovalau. At the moment, I belong to the Fiji Disabled Peoples Federation, Nadi branch. I am actually, at the moment, the president of the Nadi branch, Vinaka.
Thank you. Lasarusa, the LGBTQI community is relatively new in Fiji, and I'm sure there's a lot of issues that you grapple with. But out of all those issues, what's a key priority issue for you at the moment?
Thank you. Indeed, LGBTIQ issues are somewhat seen as new to our environment, and also for people to grasp and accept the fact that people don't identify with their birth, and also how they express themselves in public. I think the priority issue is to provide a platform to understand the issues about LGBTIQ and why do they represent themselves as stars, like because most of our communities in Fiji, they have expected gender roles with a particular person, that grows up in the family. And when this particular person tends to act in a total opposite way, this could bring about discrimination and would also result in homophobic violence and also transphobia.
So you're looking for spaces, for platform where you can be recognized as a community that exists in Fiji?
Yes, recognized as a human being in a community. Yeah. Most LGBTIQ communities are shunned away from their homes because of their gender identity and sexual orientation or expression is what we can relate to. Yeah.
So you want to be, you want the Fiji communities to recognize you as human beings. Thank you. Gordon, I understand you come from the People Living with Disability Association in Nadi. What are some of the key issues that you struggle with as an association in the Nadi district?
First, the main issue is our existence. You know, we want, we would like people to recognize that we are here, and we are here. You know, there's no way we'll move anywhere. But our main issue is to be recognized. And in Nadi, we want people to know that we have a branch in Nadi, and we'll be giving the contacts and everything. But we'd like our members to know we are here to help them with whatever questions they have.
So at the moment, you don't have a lot of awareness out there for the general public and also for the people living with disability within the Nadi area that you do exist as an association of people living with disability in Nadi.
That's true. We don't have much, you know, like you have it on the news and everything about disability, but when you come to the grassroots, people don't even know where to go to, you know. So it's good to have somewhere that our members or families of our members can approach for assistance. Main thing is assistance, and we are there to help them.
Thank you. We'll take a break now. You are watching Transcend Oceania's Justpeace TALANOA at COVID-19 on building Justpeace communities in changing environment and climate. Join us after this break. So welcome back to this second segment of this episode. In the previous segment, you have started to talk about the priority issues for you with people living with disability and the LGBTQI community. Maybe if we can move the TALANOA now for you to begin to talk about what are some of the key challenges and conflicts surrounding the issues that you have talked about previously.
Paulo, I think in the context, I might bring the context to Fiji, but there are more overarching challenges that are of international platforms. Yeah? But in the context of Fiji, there are lack of data to inform the work that LGBTIQ does, and there are many works, and there are many work that has been done by most organizations in Fiji on researchers to inform the work of LGBTIQ. And this work is just to, we see that these causes of homophobic bullying, violence and discrimination is based on lack of knowledge from the community. I was talking about sexual orientation and gender identity. There are trainings that are being done currently in the past on sexual orientation and gender identity, and some very good, some recommendations have come out from those trainings that we need to continue the work on sensitization training within the community, focusing on our families, because most of the LGBTIQ community are from the family. Like what I had mentioned before, they are foremost being shunned out from their family. And we look at family as the base and where comfort and all these things started.
So you're talking about relevant data, information to inform the public about who you are, what you do, the struggles that you go through, in order for them to be able to recognize you as you said before, as human beings.
Human beings, yeah.
Thank you.
I think the lack of, and what I was talking about, lack of information, just to increase their knowledge, to understand a person not only because of their gender and the holistic approach towards an LGBTIQ community.
Thank you, Lasarusa. Gordon, what are some of the challenges? You've talked about the lack of information about who you are, but also to get in touch with people living with disability in the Nadi area. What are some of the key challenges and conflicts surrounding this key issue that you've talked about previously?
For us in Nadi, our main challenge is actually communication. Most of our disabled people have mobile numbers, but when you call them the second time, it's dead. So, but like I said, it's communication. And like I said before, we are trying to open an office where people know where they can come to.
So you don't have an office?
We don't have an office at the moment.
And that's a key challenge for you?
That's a key challenge.
Okay.
And our idea is if we have an office, people in there can say, okay, that's our office.
Yeah.
They can walk in.
Yeah.
So with the COVID coming now, it's sort of dampened that a bit,
Yeah.
but that's our aim.
I'm interested in what you've just said, and this goes to you, Lasarusa, also. We all know that COVID-19 brought a lot of changes, and with those changes come the challenges. You already have existing challenges. What further challenges and conflicts and issues is brought about by COVID-19 in terms of LGBTQI and people living with disability?
I think from the perspective of LGBTIQ, it's very intersecting. It can be affected psychosocially, talking about the mental state of a person, because you get to be isolated in your own homes due to these curfews, and most of our work, we work closely with the sex worker community, and the sex worker community are being affected because of their source of income. Like their working hours are being decreased because of the curfew hours that has been enforced by the government of the day. And I think not only sex workers but the LGBTIQ community as a whole, economic status, and mostly our community work in the hospitality workforce, which we have heard on media that they are being, most of them are being sent home.
So some of the members of the community have been laid off,
yes,
because of the COVID-19 restrictions,
yes,
and all that. Particularly those who come from the tourism industry. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Gordon, what are some of the the challenges that's now come to your association and people living with disability brought in by COVID-19?
Well, for disabled, as you know, before the COVID, we isolated as it is. So our idea is Right now the COVID sort of is there, but before the COVID we've been isolated from a lot of people already. So when the COVID comes, the only thing is for us to stress to is family members, is to look after the disabled and follow the information from the health. That's the best we could do for them.
So you're saying you could be forgotten further because of COVID-19,
That's true.
but you have been isolated
Even before that, yeah. Right.
Let's take a break now. You are watching Transcend Oceania's Justpeace TALANOA at COVID-19 on building Justpeace communities in changing environment and climate. Join us after this break. So welcome back to this last segment of this episode. Lasarusa, earlier on you acknowledged the fact that Transcend Oceania provided this platform for you to begin to raise your issues, and I'm sure that's appreciated too by Gordon. So we've talked about the issues, we've talked about the extra challenges that's brought in by COVID-19 to the existing issues that you have. How do you think we as a society in Fiji could respond and resolve the issues that you have?
Thank you, Paulo. If I may begin on policy level, there are policies already in place to protect people with diverse sexual orientation and gender identities. I think these policies just needs to be strengthened and enforced. That's why firstly I said that this is a great opportunity to raise our issues on this platform. And also I was talking about research that had been done by most LGBTIQ organizations, and most of the recommendations that came out from this research is continuous sensitization of the community, the wider community, and also an important recommendation that we've noticed and we've started to work on it is the dialogue with faith-based organization, because we believe that most of our values and our teachings from home are based around the Bible, and mostly these teachings are interpreted in a way to fit a person's agenda, but this can be very discriminatory.
So this is a very difficult issue, very difficult area for you to be talking about publicly, like in this platform. Would you want to continue what you were talking about before in terms of faith-based dialogue?
Thank you, Paulo. Yes, there has been work that's been done by some of LGBTIQ organization, and there has been dialogue informed by the recommendations from the researchers that I was talking about earlier, because we see that most sermons that are being preached nowadays are just to fit the agenda of the person that's preaching, and not thinking about people that are hearing these sermons. This might come out as discriminatory, and this will create barriers in where LGBTIQ members tend to push themselves back, not being visible in the work that they do. Yes, and I think our target area.
Okay, so I hear you talk about two things that could be responses to how we can address your issues. One is the fact that there are policies that are already in place, but the implementation part of it needs to be strengthened. And then you had started to talk about the need for more dialogue with faith-based organizations, with the churches, but also with the wider public on the LGBTQI community, your needs, and what you are concerned about. Yes. Let's maybe move to Gordon, and then I will come back to you, Lasarusa. So how do you think Fiji as a society could respond to the issues that you have talked about in terms of disability in Nadi?
For us in Nadi, I think the main thing is, I said before, the awareness part. Not like different from my colleague here, we are an old, disabled, been around for hundreds of years. People just sort of tend to forget, what it is. But to me, that's the most important thing, is for the whole public just to know and remember. Because now and then you remember disability, after that you forget it. And people will remember when it happens to you. That's the most time it's quite important.
So creating a lot of awareness about who you are, your needs, and the concerns that you have, that you've been raising. Yeah. Maybe to wrap up the conversation in this episode, I'm sure there's a lot of things you want to talk about in this TALANOA. But there's also some important things that you think those who are watching you and watching this episode need to hear. So do you have a message to all those who are viewing and watching this episode?
I think there's an issue nowadays that's been flooding the media about same-sex marriage. Same-sex marriage with the movement in Fiji is not a priority at this moment. I think it's been creating all this buzz about the movement. When someone mentions about LGBTIQ, it's always related to same-sex marriage. And our stand for the LGBTIQ movement, informed by the researchers that some of the LGBTIQ organizations have done. I think now we are only trying to plead for acceptance from the public as a whole. And I think if you do come across a transgender person or an LGBTIQ person, have time to talk things out with them. This will actually build their confidence in the work that they do, the support they provide for their family, and most of the LGBTIQ communities are just our brothers, our sisters, our relatives, and mostly our family members.
Thank you, Lasarusa. Gordon, is there any last message you want to share with all those who are viewing this program?
Yeah, for the people of Nadi, for the public as a whole, especially to my colleagues who are disabled and family members. Remember, we may be physically disabled, but we are able people. And there's a lot of things that we could do. And to our family members, you are the most important things that you can do helping our disabled people. For all disabled people in Nadi, you can contact us on the numbers that's on your screen right now for assistance, Vinaka.
That brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you very much for your willingness to participate in this TALANOA BURE. And thank you, viewers, for joining us in this Talanoa.
As we conclude our Justpeace Talanoa Mbure at COVID-19, we are reminded that to enable people living just peace and nonviolence in Oceania, we need to be mindful and inclusive with the limited space we share. Our timely responses, most of all, with people of special needs. I am Vasulevu, the Executive Director of Transcend Oceania. Baleinakorodawa.